These two teams, Roll20, Monkey Menagerie, they are no strangers to each other. Let's take a listen to what they had to say about this match.
Since we didn't play that well throughout the first phase, the Crucible is still back in the heads, but we'll be able to not think too much about it and just keep doing it match per match and hopefully dodge Crucible with it. Against Monkeys, I think every HGC team right now just wants to win against them. No one really wants to lose against them. We managed to do that in first place, but right now we cannot really afford to lose against them. Monkeys were playing pretty decent against Method, but we won against Method, so we're obviously the better team, so we just have to beat Monkeys this time.
So Roll20 is getting better, but I think the biggest trend right now is the streamers, Chris and Quack. Both of them are excellent streamers with a lot of viewers, and we only have one of these, Alex. So they're gonna be a big opponent for us. I think it's gonna go the same way as it did last season, a quick 3-0 for us.
I'm pretty sure that's the first time in an interview I've heard a team say, well, they've got more streamers than us. Like, I've never known that to be a metric to compare, but they do expect to come out with a 3-0, and it's pretty shocking.
Monkeys like their memes, and the last time that we had Splend actually talking about it, he was also very quick to say that he expects that they were very stable in the weeks before, and that he expects the same result, a quick 3-0, alluding to that they haven't won a map at that point in like 4 weeks or something. So right now, this is definitely a game that I don't know who's going to take it, because Monkeys are, of course, ramping up a little bit now. They're preparing for the Crucible already. Roll20 is getting stronger too. I feel the most important, or the people that this match is the most important for, are actually the Holy Bananas. They're currently watching all of this, and also ePunks, because both of those teams are going to watch right now what's happening here. The Bananas still have to make that choice who they're going to go up against, since they won Open Division, so this is all about Crucible at this point.
Conceptually, it wouldn't be bad to see the Bananas take on the Monkeys. But game number 1 is going to be ready. Let's see where we're going to start this series off.
Then again, Monkeys eat bananas, so
it would be quite the turn if the Bananas were able to take down the Monkeys. But we're going to Dragonshire, a battleground that requires a lot of rotation. We've seen how much strategy can have an impact going into the mid to late game. So I really like this test of confidence and competence out of these teams for this match.
The interesting part is that Dragonshire has been a constant storyline when it comes to Quacknix and his teams. Fnatic banned out Dragonshire nearly every time they played it. Then Quacknix moving over to Roll20 also caused the same to happen with Roll20. Then at some point they started to shift it a little bit and stopped banning Dragonshire and instead started banning different maps. For example, Braxis was very continuously and is also today banned out again. But they went now so far as to pick Dragonshire. And I mean, again, this series is an interesting one. You can experiment a bit with the loss of Method against Granite Gaming. Roll20 is more or less in the Crucible. Very difficult, if not impossible, for them to get out of this spot at this point, with the situation being as it is. But they committing to Dragonshire here is definitely a bit of a novel scenario, considering that Quacknix is not really the biggest fan of the way the map has to be played from a shot caller's perspective.
I mean, we're witnessing his growth as a captain and overall player, because like you said, he didn't really care for this map when he was back on Fnatic. And Roll20, even though they did lose earlier this weekend, their performance, they're showing that they are improving by strides. Every time we see them, they look like a much better team than the last go-round. Monkey Menagerie, they have to be aware of this, and they don't feel like dealing with the Diablo engagement at the very least to start out.
Diablo Maiev being banned out. So, I mean, when we're talking about the bans, Duranda is still very much in everyone's head here. Do you ban her? Do you go as a first pick again with her? We have other heroes that are highly important. I could see, for example, Genji being banned out from Roll20, now that the Monkeys got rid of Abathur, simply because Maka has that X factor, and yep, that's what's happening here. And now the big question, is it going to be the Duranda first pick, or are the Monkeys going down a different path?
Alex is like, give me Chin right out of the gate. I need it, but they are going to pick up Urel instead, leaving Duranda potentially open to Roll20. With Urel picked up, they might want to try to prioritize getting their solo laner of choice if that's how heavy they want to prioritize. Things like the Haka have a huge impact on this map, maybe even Blaze.
There's a couple of... Yeah, it hinges on Duranda, because if you get Duranda right now, you might want to pick up Muradin so that you have the stun set up for him. And Muradin is great on Dragonshire. But as you said, you already see Urel on the other side, so you want to think at least about also getting the Haka. But they actually go into Duranda and they get Garrosh. very cool to see the development on the side of Roll20 because they're just accepting that Roba is way better on Garrosh than he is on any other hero to an extent where they are totally willing to find that synergy between the two heroes here, Tyrande and Garrosh, instead of using Muradin, who has been one of the most played heroes on Dragonshire. And there's quite a bit of synergy with Tyrande and Garrosh actually, especially on level 13. The Quickening Blessing allows Garrosh with the movement speed to easily close the distance to a target, but of course also when you know the timings, you can go from one stun or from a throw into a quick Tyrande stun. So there's a lot that can happen here from their perspective.
Yeah, we've seen that alley-oop synergy work out pretty well over the course of this weekend. And this is also another note of Roll20's evolution. I remember last week the interview Quacknick said, if the situation looks like Garrosh could be good and Roba says he wants to play it, then I'll pick it. For them to take it in their 1-2 shows that their prioritization has entirely shifted towards that being more the go-to warrior. In a way we've seen Roba play that hero, I understand why.
I mean, it's one of those things where Quacknick still doesn't really like the way that Garrosh fits into the meta and the way that he impacts the way they have to play, but he still can acknowledge that his tank player excels on that particular hero and is willing to make adaptations because of that. And that's what's happening here now. Now, with that being said, we have Johanna now for wave clear on the side of the Monkeys for the rotations. We have also Phoenix taken, and Phoenix especially with a salvo can threaten Tyrande, but in an ideal world, the Monkeys would like to have a hero that can go into the backline. Personally, I'm surprised that Dehaka wasn't banned by the Monkeys, that they opted for Hanzo instead, but the way he controls mercenaries is of course a big danger, so they were a bit more worried about that. But now we have that global hero on the side of Roll20 with Zamani, who can utilize that to maybe get into the backline too.
Now, there's nothing wrong with Monkey Menagerie's composition so far. It hits all the checkboxes. Wave clear, consistent damage. With the Junkrat, you'll have more displacement, more of a chaos factor. But you look at what Roll20 has put together so far, and you see exactly what it looks to do. If someone gets thrown by Garrosh, the Hunter's Mark is going to be there in the Orb combination. Quacknick is one of the best leading players in EU. You're going to eat a lot of damage. I feel like Roll20 got the upper hand as far as overall we want to take this fight. We want to dictate the terms of the overall match. The Falstad pick, though, so maybe Quacknick won't be playing.
Yeah, this looks very much like Falstad is going to be the one that will play Falstad, and Liming is going to be played by Chris. They have that overlap in the hero pool, and they showed it on other heroes too, where they can just shift it a bit. Falstad is, again, an interesting pick, especially since they already run Dehaka. So with Dehaka taken, it's one of those situations where you run a double global. You don't have to take a lot of fights with this. You can really start rotating heroes quite quickly. So for example, you have Dehaka at the top lane. He can always... You have a really dynamic setup now because Dehaka is going to take top lane. But at the same time, with Falstad in the mix, Urel has now to be very careful because at any point, Falstad can fly in, make it a 2 versus 1 and attack. And at the same time, if Dehaka sees an opportunity to burrow down and just simply create a kill opportunity, he will do that and they won't lose experience because Falstad can fly up, can take over the experience soak up to the point where Dehaka transitions in again and Falstad rotates down. So that rotational play is something that we've seen a lot from Fnatic in the meta of old, like a year back, and he's now bringing that into Roll20, and that can definitely work out, but it requires a lot of team coordination that they've been lacking in the past, but recently they have been better on that end. So
it takes coordination to execute and to respond to. I really am curious to see how the Menagerie respond to a double global composition, because so many times we've seen around like level 12, level 13, a team loses a hero or two, but since there's no global, you have to rotate all the way up top to get the shrine or something like that. When you have Dehaka and Falstad, you're that much easier able to get the Dragon Knight, and that could have a huge impact.
Yeah, and of course with the Dragon Knight you also now have Gust that can be used as a great tool for isolation and even delays there. But we're heading into game number 1 and find out which team is taking the lead in this series.
Over on the left side, looking to roll that critical hit, it's Roll20. Zarmany's on Dehaka. Quacknick is playing Falstad. Chris will be throwing orbs with Li Ming. Robadova's on Garrosh. Chad rounded out with Tyrande.
And over to the right side of the map, we have the Monkeys ready to go full bananas in game number 1 with Crosby on Junkrat. Maka in this game finds himself on Phoenix here. His Genji got banned out. Alex, the Pro G, finds himself on Urel in that off lane. Remabola, of course, taking the main tank position with Johanna. And a Splendor on Malfurion.
Now, Kyle, all these matches, these teams have something to play for, but I feel like this match in particular has a very interesting dynamic, and since both of these teams are more likely to not going to the Crucible, the two teams coming in from the Open Division, they're watching this with a keen eye. So you want to have a dominant performance so you take on the second seed. I don't think this is how they wanted to round the season out. I don't think this was their ambition, but it's definitely what they have to play for right now.
Yeah, it's definitely true. This is one of those matches that is very, very closely watched by especially the Holy Bananas, who won the Open Division and have now the choice of who they want to go up against. But everyone else, the E-Punks, for example, are going to watch this too, just to make sure that they have a bit of an idea what's happening right now. And what's happening, first of all, is that Zarmany is in trouble, but here comes the rotation, and the Haka goes down, but he's not going to be the only one. Quacknix is... Nah, there's no way Maki gets out of this one.
Quacknix already knows it's done. He's like, Shad, Robodoba, I'll leave it up to you guys. I'm out. But Alex the Prodigy does want to return. Urel's going to be pretty hard to take down. There's a nice Lunar Flare. That teleport's going to be ready any moment. Maka with the jukes, laces him up, and somehow manages to escape as Zarmany's leg. Surprise!
Zarmany comes back in and is like, I remember you. You killed me a second ago. Well, I'm back, my friend. But yeah, it actually looked like he could escape because Falstad moved out so early to soak the experience. It looked for a second as if we would see Phoenix move away from this one. But now it's a double kill even. And that's, of course, great opening here for Roll20, getting those 2 kills. And the Monkeys already starting to lose out on some of the pressure on the map. This could very well lead into a Dragonite even if they play that aggressively.
I do like what the Monkeys have shown so far, though. Maki's standing on the point. He's like, you're going to have to go through my face if you want to try to get this Dragonite. Holds it on long enough to take one of the shrines back. Splendor eats so much damage. But those 2 takedowns for Roll20, they started because Monkey Menagerie made the first play. They made the first move at the rotation. So if they continue to be aggressive, they could get an advantage later on.
Yeah, Malfurion in this case actually surviving, that was a big deal, because if he falls, then it could very well be the Dragonite, and even if that's not the case, it makes it very difficult for the Monkeys to react on the map. But now they're trying to make the play for Quacknix. Fawcett, of course, one of the squishier heroes right now in that setup. But the Monkeys hold the 2 shrines. The question is just for how long. The Haka won't be able to hold a candle alone against Urel here, especially with these rotations that are heading topside all the time from the Monkeys' perspective. But especially Robodoba on his Garrosh is creating opportunities now for the blue team.
There is a nice rotation up. Maki tried to go back. He's like, I remember what you did to me, and you remember what I did to you. Nice drag is going to allow Zarmany to pull him back towards the wall. Alex the Pro-G continuing to have this 1v2 pressure onto the top lane. But they haven't even gotten a tower to show for it yet, so the gamble isn't exactly paying off.
Yeah, and Splendor is again the center of attention here, and this time he's not going to escape from this gank. Down he goes. That's a kill against Malfurion. Well done. Initiated again by Garrosh, and then a nice follow-up from Shad on his Tyrande. Maka with the attempt to make sure that Quacknix pays for the insolence of trying to disrupt the channel on the Dragonite here, and Quacknix actually went down a lot. Alex is trying now to deliver the kill, and he puts him up in a very awkward spot. Shad keeping him alive, and again Robodoba with a kill opportunity. They get it, but they counter kill against Falstad.
These teams are at each other's throats. Robodoba's like, no, you want to jump in the tower race because it's takedown on Quacknix, right? Well, welcome back. It ends up being a 1-for-1 trade. Remember, ball is now the topic of conversation, Zarmany. Robodoba's going to throw Splendor back towards the middle of the map. Shad steps forward. Does he have the Lunar Flare? Throws the Owl out. You're a wizard. Junkrat is going to get taken down off screen, but the Lunar Flare, can they?
That one, yeah, Chris is saying, like, by the way, boys, I'm also still here. I might have been at the bot lane for a long time to soak the experience, but if you think you can just walk up to me, forget about it. So yeah, Chris welcoming Malfurion here with a bit of a combo, and Malfurion walked right into that.
I'm actually surprised we didn't pause the game, because he's definitely got to reinstall after getting deleted like that. Speaking of deleted, Phoenix is going to take the quick ride back to base. Alex the Pro-G jumps into Robodoba, who throws him back into the deep end. These rotations from Roll20 are paying off. 8 takedowns under 5 minutes.
It's a really interesting setup, and it makes it so difficult now for the Open Division teams, because you look at this, and Roll20 is absolutely dominant against the Monkeys. And from the history, you would say it's an easy pick. You want to pick the Monkeys here. At the same time, though, we had several weeks now where the Monkeys all of a sudden started to step it up, and a good example was their match against Method that they barely lost, where you saw a very different Monkey Menagerie all of a sudden appear. And they said that with them having limited time, they're going to pull all the time they have into preparing for the Crucible in particular. So whenever they show a glimpse of what they're able to do, you're all of a sudden questioning, is that really the team we want to go up against? But then Roll20 in this particular match now starts off with a great showing. It's really difficult. I have no idea who, at this point, who I would pick if I am the Holy Bananas, to be honest. And I think they have a very difficult choice to make. This game, I'm not sure if it really makes it any easier.
Quacknix power rolls away to his ultimate demise. Maka is going to be able to teleport, but we see another 220 plus IQ play. These lunar flares from Shed are predicting movements and landing with accuracy.
It's good kill for Roll20 for sure. They really work well with that particular combo that they have around Tyrande. But it's also Garrosh being in the game. It's always a question of who do you target within a draft. And I could see the Monkeys trying to actually target Robadoba a little bit more and put him on a hero where he doesn't have as much of an impact.
Alex is used to 1v9ing, but 1v3 looks to be pretty tough also. He is going to be able to jump over the wall and hit the instant mount to get out of there.
Yrel,
by the way. For Roll20. And Yrel pretty hard to take down, as it turns out.
Yeah, she makes a lot of these gangs irrelevant.
Level 10 is now picked up for Monkey Menagerie. Maki, Alex the Pro G hanging out up top. So far, even though we've had this pretty much bloodbath in the earlier stages of the game, and Dragon Knight hasn't been taken, and that kind of speaks to the Monkeys' ability to stabilize and to hang on to the objective and give themselves still a fighting chance. It's costing them a lot of takedowns. They want to shore that up going into the mid to late game. But so far, they're hanging on, and they're in a position where they can get the first dragon.
Alex actually with a Sacred Ground here also on level 10, as we're having all two teams now with their heroic abilities. Nearly the channel on the DK, but the Haka. Again, against the double global, you are in a spot where without kills, you are basically not able to get a Dragon Knight. That's what we're currently looking at here. Nice attempt to put Chris into a bad spot, and he actually is, but he's going to be able to walk out of this one. So yeah, the fight is still going on here, as we have the Monkeys starting to fight back a bit. And they are not too far behind experience. Yeah, they lost a lot of heroes, but from an experience perspective, they're not looking too shabby. This is still manageable.
Yeah, that's still very much in it, surprisingly so. You find yourself down 6 takedowns. Normally, EU's known for you don't see the first takedown until 13, 14 minutes into the game. Not so much with these two teams. It can be. We saw some of that yesterday to a degree. Alex, the Pro G, is not trying to be the next takedown for Roll20. He is going to be able to mount up. He's really enjoying that level 7 talent. Crosby just trying to put pressure onto Zarmany. The rotations are in. We haven't really seen Monkey Menagerie commit to going for any of the camps to establish macro pressure themselves. So they're just, in a lot of ways, responding to what Roll20 is doing.
I mean, I'm just waiting for Roll20 having the first real play with a taunt, because that should create a cool kill opportunity here for them once that they're getting close to, let's say, Junkrat or, for example, well, Malfurion again. Roll20 definitely has a setup that is very, very powerful here. And again, for me personally, it comes a little bit down to draft. I think that the Monkeys got the worst trade, but they are doing pretty well still in some instances. What I still want to see from the Monkeys going forward is trying to target Robadoba on that front line. Because if you push him out of his best heroes, he is struggling oftentimes as a tank to have the composure and the engagements that the team needs to make these kills happen. And so I think that's one of the avenues that you could take if you're the Monkeys to exploit that a bit.
More often than not, the path to success is to play the opponent rather than the meta with regards to the draft. We could very well see that. Level 13 around the corner for Roll20. We've seen them be aggressive since they loaded onto the map with the tier advantage in any window at all. I expect we'll see the same out of this double sport composition. Alex the Pro G finds Quacknix flying a bird. Alex the Pro G is going to be able to jump out, mount up, escape, Maki. He's like, I'm not going to hang around here. I don't believe in my ability to teleport to safety. On this one, I'll just back out. You can have the shrine.
We see a lot of rotations, and to be honest, one thing really astounds me a bit. The experience lead for Roll20 is tiny considering how many kills they have and that they have a double global. But now they are going to pick up another one. Phoenix goes down. Alex gets isolated, very likely to fall too. That's another double kill thanks to the double global on the map. And now Roll20 is finally finding some value after getting these kills. It was a bit of a point of criticism in some of the games of the past that when they take kills, when they win a fight, they're not able to actually capitalize on it in the way that they should. And that was a problem against Grenade Gaming on Tomb. That's a bit of a problem here in the early game, but now that they get these kills in the mid-game, they're starting to get way farther ahead.
Yeah, we're seeing their evolution there. Instead of using your double global to rotate around the map, potentially get the Dragonshire, get what you know you can confirm right now. Stack up that experience, keep that lead going. Monkey Menagerie, they were able to spot out the rotation up top. Chris gets forced off the back to deny the first Dragon Knight, but we see Junkrat potentially going down for the Bruiser camp. Monkeys, even though they're losing heroes left, right, and center, they continue to be aggressive and try to take the fight to Roll20.
Yeah, but it's starting to become dangerous because now the top lane has lost the fort, so with the map opening up, the globals will get more value. And at the same time, the 13 talent allows Tyrande with a quickening blessing that we're seeing here to make that Garrosh even even more dangerous since he can close any gap very quickly to get another good throw in into the fray. He can just simply create another opportunity. And that's not the only thing. You have all of a sudden the Giant Killer on Falstad, who's already looking at 33 stacks here. So the damage output against that front line is even more strong. So Roll20, even especially with a level 16 talent around the corner, they're looking very, very good right now.
Quacknic's putting on some poke to Maka. Alex the Pro G potentially on the flank, but the Haka's looking to get involved. He lands the right drag. You know it's going to be pretty rough for things. A nice three-person taunt goes in. The Twilight Dream as a response is going to be Phoenix and taken down first, but Shad and the crew are not done yet. That's 2 heroes down so far.
And they're trying to go for the third. Isolation hits Johanna. And there is Remaballer falling next. Roll20 not taking any prisoners anymore. Capitalizing on the double globals. 14 kills against 3. And now starting to not only try and take the Dragonite, but also aggressively push with those Siege Giants that they have at the bot lane.
I mean, they got some new dice, some new gear for this D&D match. It seems they're rolling these critical hits more often than not. It should pave the way for them to get the first Dragonite of the game. The minions were the only thing that tried to get in the way of that. The Menagerie right now, dealing with the Dragonite, dealing with this push in multiple fronts, dealing with the tier advantage, have their backs against the wall.
Yeah, this is Roll20 just annihilating that setup. They're right now gaining so much momentum here. 3-level lead already. Very difficult for the Monkeys to do anything about it. I mean, again, the question is always like, how do you approach this from the Monkeys' perspective? Because they are confirmed for the Crucible. For them, this match is a training exercise. So it's very difficult to judge if this is really the power level that they're at, or if they are playing some games here. But Roll20 is definitely controlling the map from start to finish. The double globe is giving so much value to them. The Dragonite that they're picking up now is fantastic. Urel tried to counter push a little bit to get the level 16 talent, but now has to head back to make sure that no one is going for core. It's very unlikely that Monkeys coming back into this. They would have to win a very decisive team fight to have a chance for the comeback.
I mean, what we just saw there, I think, is indicative of how the rest of this game could go. Roll20 steps forward, they take the keep, and Monkey Menagerie, Caldor, they could do about as much in that instance as you and I can as spectators. They just watch their bottom keep it taken down. A nice stun does go out. Remember, Baller trying to apply pressure. It's going to force out the Mighty Gus. Alex the Pro G half a screen away from the rest of the team. The barrel roll. He's going to go ahead and chase him down. Chris, not even needed for the magic missiles. 16 takedowns to 3.
I mean, Monkeys have as much a chance of making a comeback in this game happen as I have a chance of growing an afro, so I think it's pretty unlikely that that happens. Not quite sure you're looking in that department, but for me, that would be a struggle.
I have had an afro before. I had 2, actually. Nowhere near as big as Crowan's.
Okay, now I want to see pictures.
All right, I got you. I got you. They're real. 1 level away from hitting level 20 is Roll20, who find themselves firmly in the driver's seat. They're going to help themselves to any camp, any position, any opportunity they so choose. Urel will be back in a few seconds. A nice mine from Junkrat's going to raise Robodoba's brow, but he's going to be able to walk away.
Yeah, the Orc walks away, and that's... I mean, again, the difference right now from what we're seeing here is insane. And the problem is, we're not looking at the composition on Monkey's side that all of a sudden in the late game is going to scale heavily and outscale Roll20. Roll20 is running a double global. They don't have to take a single fight in this game if they don't want to take it.
Siege Camp getting picked up by Roll20 also. With the other one available, we could see what happens in an ALI. Temple Storm loves to do the double, triple camp down bottom with the bottom keep and catapults already there. Could be the in-game play. Monkey Menagerie, while they do find themselves on even talent tiers, want to try to make whatever moves they can. Heads up play by them, in my opinion. They take away the Bruiser camp. Roll20, I don't think they were anticipating that.
They need to be aggressive, so they try to be as aggressive as they possibly can, but if you look at the minimap, the Haka is pushing out the bot lane, top lane is getting pushed by a camp that's going to be taken down pretty soon because the reinforcements in form of minion waves are not pushing through. But with the shrines activating in 10 seconds, that the Haka push bot lane becomes an issue because you have to respond to it. And if you do, there's a chance that those shrines are ending up in Roll20's hands. 20 is also around. And there's no one heading back to defend, so that core is going to get a lot of damage pushed on it. Alex gets isolated. That's 3 catapults. That's too much. That could literally be game. If Falstad flies in now and helps out, they could try and take that.
If Quacknic's was able to slow down the rotation on the back at all, I don't think it's going to matter. The core is down to 12%. Effectively, Monkey Menagerie trades they get the top 4, and they trade out their own core to close out game number 1. Not the most positive trade you could imagine.
I mean, they're literally monkeying around right now. That's...
I mean, you left the back door open, caught with your pants down. Just, what were they doing?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. There's an argument to be made for lowballing it a bit in that series so that you get picked. If you want to get picked, but okay, there's this interesting setup with the Open Division.
Okay.
You have ePunks dominating the entire Open Division from start to finish. They win nearly everything they participate in. They drop a couple of maps and that's it. And then everyone expects them to be the #1 and be able to pick. Then the Holy Bananas go into the final and all of a sudden take down ePunks. And so there's this big discussion happening, and it's basically like, okay, did ePunks take that series enough? Did they have a bad day? Who is the better team? If you actually, from an HGC team perspective, you look at that and you're saying, okay, Holy Bananas won, they have the choice. We still think that ePunks are the better team and the harder team to beat, then you want to be picked by the Holy Bananas. From that line of argument, again, it's really tricky. If you're the Holy Bananas and you look at this, it's just like, was that really the representation of skill? Is that the monkeys trying to make sure that we pick them because they feel like we're an easier opponent? It's really a lot of mind games. Normally when we're looking at the Crucible, it's clean cut.
Right.
You have a team that is there, that is the weaker team, that is at the bottom of the standings. But you look at the monkeys and they have players that are very experienced. They can be very strong with the amount of practice. And we've seen that several times as glimpses in this season now. I don't want to be in the shoes of the Holy Bananas, to be honest, because you have to make a choice that is very difficult. And no matter what choice you make, you kind of have the feeling you're walking a bit into a trap here. And especially that last move from the monkeys, not reacting to that push at the bot lane. I mean, I said it as the Haka was pushing in. If Force that flies, it's over. And no one can tell me that the monkeys looked at that and didn't see it. There's like no way. Those players have been around for 3 years in competitive heroes. They played HGC ever since the start. There is absolutely zero chance that they looked at that situation and said like, no, URL can easily defend that, no problem whatsoever. That's not a thing.
With regards to the long con, I see where you're going with it. I actually feel like that needs to be it, because if that was them genuinely playing it, I don't think it's going to matter who they play in the Crucible.